These are Marvel movies that had the potential to be amazing, but were actually terrible. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had all the potential to be a top 10 film in the MCU, and they completely wasted it. I really liked the first Doctor Strange movie, and when they announced that Sam Raimi was coming to direct the second one, I thought this was a perfect match because obviously he already made a beloved comic book movie trilogy with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, and he's done tons of amazing horror work, which seemed like it was going to blend perfectly in this film. Plus, this movie was releasing right after Spider-Man No Way Home, also dealing with a multiverse. The potential seemed unlimited for what we were going to see in this film. We had Wanda coming back in this movie, which was a great choice. The end product is ultimately just super mediocre. I think the biggest problem with the movie is that you can definitely tell Sam Raimi was heavily held back by Marvel Studios himself. Like, you can tell his style is definitely in this movie, but it's not really a full-on Sam Raimi film. The multiversal elements with the Illuminati in this film are also just super underwhelming, and I'm not like a big cameo person anyways. Like, I don't think we needed a bunch of people from a million different Marvel universes in this, but the fact that like Deadpool and Wolverine had better multiversal elements than this film that's named Multiverse of Madness is just really weird. The film also makes the weird decision of completely abandoning the plotline with Mordo that was set up in the post-credit scene of the first Doctor Strange film where he wanted to kill all sorcerers. That seemed like a really interesting sequel, and for some reason we just completely threw that away, and this movie really just could have been so incredible and really just a disappointing film. I know a lot of people don't really care for the first two Ant-Man movies, but I personally find them to be really funny and great MCU films, and Quantumania just completely threw away all that goodwill. And the thing is, all they had to do is follow the formula from the first two Ant-Man films. Give us a really funny script, let Paul Rudd and the ex-cons just give you some great line deliveries, and have it be a small-scale comedy heist movie that kind of is its own standalone thing from the MCU. Nobody went to the Ant-Man films for like these greater connections to the rest of the universes and multiverse and the quantum realm. But for some reason, this movie decides to lean entirely into that, and everything in the quantum realm just looks bad. It's so bland and boring. It feels like it's trying to be like a Star Wars movie, but it's the worst version of it possible. I do think Kang could have been an amazing Avengers level villain, but putting him in this film and the way he gets defeated completely ruined all chances of that. Like, you cannot build up your next Thanos level figure and put him in an Ant-Man movie where he gets defeated literally by ants. Yeah, I know there's hundreds and thousands of different versions of Kangs out there, but the general audience doesn't care. They're gonna see, oh wait, that was the same guy that got ran over by a bunch of ants and now he's defeating the Avengers. That was just not a good idea from the jump. Comedy is just so bad in this film. Like, MODOK, every single line he has is so unbelievably cringy, and the jokes all throughout really suffer because, again, we left behind all the ex-cons that were so funny in the first two Ant-Man films. I'm taking a quick break from the MCU films and shifting to another disappointing Marvel movie. Let's talk about Spider-Man 3. Now, this is slightly different than the others on the list because it's not just a straight-up bad film. I do think this is still a very fun and enjoyable movie with lots of great moments, but it could have been just as good or better than the first two. The reason it's not is simply out of Sam Raimi's control. The studio pretty much came to him and they're like, yeah, you have to put Venom and the symbiote suit in this movie. And I do think some of the stuff that happens with the symbiote suit, Tobey Maguire, is good, but Venom in this film absolutely ruins it. It makes the film feel way too overstuffed. It takes away from the great character of Sandman, and it's just a terrible version of the character anyways. And it's really a shame because some of the serious moments and jokes in this movie are just as good as stuff in the first two Spider-Man films, but it ultimately is just way too messy, and it could have been so incredible. We're back to the MCU, and it's another film that came out post-Endgame with Thor: Love and Thunder, because this film, following up Thor Ragnarok, we thought this character, his trilogy, was finally getting on track with a great film, and they immediately ruin it with the fourth film. Again, this is not about the worst films ever in the MCU, just ones that could have been so great, and this film, again, had all the pieces. Like, Gore the God Butcher being played by Christian Bale was absolutely perfect, and he was great in the movie. Like, every time the film focuses on his scenes, it's legitimately like a 9 out of 10 film. The problem is everything else, and I absolutely love Thor Ragnarok. I think the humor really works. It's one of the funniest Marvel movies. It's probably borderline top 10 MCU for me. But I really feel like Taika Waititi is failed in Thor: Love and Thunder because of the success in Thor Ragnarok, because it's like, oh, people love this style of humor. Let me just spam it a million times more in the film, and a lot of the jokes in this film simply are just not that funny. It doesn't give the more serious moments time to breathe like he did in Thor Ragnarok. Because again, Thor Ragnarok has more serious moments. You have the destruction of Asgard, and everything with Hela towards the end is really serious, but the movie focuses in, and it's like, okay, now we gotta cut out the jokes a little bit. Thor: Love and Thunder never does that, even when the stakes are like insanely high. I think when this issue is most prevalent is with Jane Foster's storyline in this. Like, you bring back the great Natalie Portman as this character finally, and she has a super serious cancer storyline, and pretty much every time it gets a little bit more serious, they immediately undercut it with a joke, with one of the most serious storylines we've probably ever seen in the MCU. Such a weird mistake to make. And ultimately killing off Jane in this movie after she finally returned is, again, a huge shame. I feel like she could have been a great character going forward now as Lady Thor. Drop a like on the video real quick and let me know what Marvel project you think had the most wasted potential. My next one I gotta talk about is Secret Invasion. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know this was one of my most anticipated Marvel projects and TV shows of all time when it was announced, because I absolutely love the character of Talos. I love Nick Fury in the MCU, and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting into those like Captain America the Winter Soldier, super serious spy thriller type of vibes. The thing is, that was a complete lie. Like, Captain America the Winter Soldier, my favorite MCU movie, is an incredible like spy action thriller with some amazing like characters questioning all these different morals and things going on around them. Everything between Steve and Bucky in that film is just so incredibly powerful. I absolutely adore that movie, so that's why I was like falsely hyped up. I'm like, oh my god, they're going for that similar tone in this. That was literally just not true. Like, this movie, or TV show rather, is so incredibly goofy all throughout. You cast Emilia Clarke and she just becomes a super Skrull that has all the powers of every hero ever in the MCU. I guarantee they're never going to follow up on this storyline. Sadly, the stuff with Gaia isn't even close to the dumbest thing the series did. Like, another thing that was incredibly stupid, killing off Maria Hill, one of the best supporting characters in the entire MCU, randomly in the first episode of this TV show that like nobody watched because it was pretty terrible, in the most unceremonious death I've ever seen in my life. Again, nothing feels earned in this series. It just all feels random. Speaking of super random, deciding, oh yeah, Rhodey's actually been a Skrull for who knows how long, maybe since Endgame and even in Endgame. I swear nobody that was writing the series took a second to stop and think about any of the decisions they were making with any of the characters. Again, I feel like all these plot lines are just going to be completely abandoned going forward because they realize, yeah, this was all terrible stuff happening in this series. Nick Fury just simply deserves so much better. Like, in the last few years, the only projects we've seen him in are Secret Invasion, which is supposed to be his time to shine, and the Marvels. Like, please give this dude another great project in the MCU. He really deserves it. Age of Ultron's another one that I think is like a fine like 6.5 to 7 out of 10 film that could have easily been a 9 or 10 out of 10. Like, this film had all the potential in the world, and it's simply because of this man right here, Ultron. Like, everything about this character was handled so perfectly. The rest of the movie around him is just super mediocre. It's kind of like Thor Love and Thunder, except a little bit better of a film. Like, seriously, the design of this character, how his powers are used, the lines, like, he has some of the greatest and most quotable moments in the entire MCU. James Spader as the voice of him, again, A++ performance. Everything with him is incredible. Then the rest of the movie, when you're actually with the Avengers themselves, is just super mediocre. Like, Josh Whedon got a little out of control with the writing on this one. There's way too many unfunny jokes. Again, not to the level of Thor Love and Thunder, but it's similar problems in this movie. Weird storylines, like everything with Black Widow and Hulk just kind of drags this movie down, honestly. Again, it's not a terrible movie. There's stuff I really like. I think the third act does come together pretty nicely with that big battle. I do like the twins introduction in this, even though I do think Quicksilver should have lasted for at least like 2 or 3 projects before killing him off. It would have hit 10 times harder. But when the other 3 Avengers movies that we've got are all in my top 10 MCU movies of all time, and this one is like barely scraping by the top 20, it just should have been better. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, drop a like on the video. Let me know what Marvel movies you think had wasted potential. We got some insane Avengers Doomsday leaks the other day, like major plot details and new characters confirmed for the film. If you want to see that, click the video above my head right now.